everyone, welcome back to the Convos with Anita Santiago podcast. I am your host, Anita Santiago. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in the room. Glad to be back here in my space where I typically record. It's been a minute. As many of you know, I am feverishly working on my dissertation, trying to get done with school, so it's kind of interrupted the podcast sessions, but be not discouraged because I'm going to keep going, and I'll be bringing you topics from time to time until I can get back on a regular recording schedule. So with that being said, if you follow, review, like, and share podcast episodes on all the platforms, that would be very appreciated. Also, if you want to reach me directly, you can always reach me at convoscws@gmail.com. You can share thoughts, concerns, topics that you want to see. Love hearing from all the friends, fans, and supporters of the podcast. So don't be shy about reaching out. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, it's June, and many of us are celebrating Juneteenth. A lot of history in this holiday. Got me thinking about the conversations we often have around change in communities, in our communities, African American communities specifically. It got me thinking about how we often have criticism, thoughts, ideas about what should or shouldn't be going on. And how do we get that change? Or how do we bring that change about? Today's topic is the power of one. It only takes one. And you would be surprised at how much you, one person, can do to effect change in your life, in your family, in your community, with your friend groups. The power of one. So let me tell you where this inspiration comes from. I like history, and there are so many people throughout history. Harriet Tubman comes to mind immediately. Fannie Lou Hamer comes to mind immediately. And so many others. George Washington Carver, Frederick Douglass, W.E.B. Du Bois. So many people, Maya Angelou, Toni Morrison, more recently. And if you want to look at celebrities, Oprah Winfrey comes to mind, and Tyler Perry. People who are known for the power of change in communities, circumstances, or situations, and have such a powerful impact. And as I reflect, this June, I wonder if we've lost that concept of being a powerful agent of change. So, some people join organizations. There are organizations out here doing tremendous work, nonprofits, community-based organizations, social organizations that have a focus, mentoring, scholarship, and that sort of thing. And they all do great work. But I think we forget that the most impactful change can be one-on-one or at the lowest level, right? So how can you impact change in the areas you touch? How can you be instrumental in bringing change about? There are so many ways you can do this. It's not complicated. It's not rocket science, but I think your mindset has to be focused on understanding that the things you do matter. What you say, how you act, how you behave. So how do we make change? Start with your own community. I'm sure if you look around your community, no matter where you live, no matter what state, no matter what country, you'll see ample opportunities to do something. And I think there's a misconception that when we're talking about change, there's a feeling that sometimes, while people don't want to get involved because so much is needed, like there's so much work to be done. But if everyone did a little, then no one would have to do it all. Okay, so what do I mean? We talk about schools a lot. Many people are dissatisfied with schools, curriculum, different things like that. Volunteer at the school. Volunteer in the school district. Do something. Bring an idea for a leadership program over the summer for kids at the school. Opportunities, mentoring. Sign up to be a guest speaker at Career Day at the schools. I try to participate when people reach out to me and say, hey, we're having Career Day at the elementary school. Would you like to come? Of course. Because it's something that's easy to do. But the impact of that, when you volunteer, when you get involved in your school district or your schools in your communities, the impact is that those children and students get to see someone that looks like them, probably, and can inspire, motivate, speak to them, and give them a reason to maybe do something they didn't think of. Here's an example. So our school, my school, shout out to PHSU in St. Louis, Missouri, they had a day last week where high school students who were interested in healthcare careers came down to the school, and students from every program, myself included, participated. And we were available to answer questions and talk about how we got to where we are as far as schooling is concerned. And it was just amazing to have that interaction, to think that we could be inspiring students to choose medicine, to choose nursing, to choose psychology, to further their studies, because they're hearing from students that are actually doing it. It's not a reel or a video. It's a space where they can actually interact with us. I've participated in career days at elementary schools. That's something to do. Volunteer with school groups. They always need parents or adults to help out with things. And you get a chance to show that, you know, that you're there and you're present in the schools. Positive energy generates positive energy. And I mean, kids might not be your thing, and I understand that, but if we want to really make change and we want to see change, we have to be the change that we're looking for. We can't walk around in our communities and say, well, this is bad and that is bad, and then don't do anything. Don't say anything. Don't participate. We just kind of withdraw and say, well, not my problem, not my issue. Well, it is when it affects all of us. What's another way you can promote change or be a change agent? Did you know that sometimes just smiling and saying hello or speaking to people is one of the most powerful things that you can do? There are a lot of people struggling with a lot of things in this world, and kindness is a very powerful, powerful tool. Being kind is almost weird now, with all of the videos on fighting and screaming and, you know, this person doing something horrific to another person. It's almost glorified. We glorify violence. We glorify meanness. The mean girl perspective is a real thing. And instead of just being kind, smiling, saying hello, opening a door, helping someone with something, coming in or out of a store, There are so many different ways that you can be helpful, and it doesn't cost you anything. 5 seconds. 5 seconds of smile. I can tell you, there have been so many times when I'm driving that someone's irritated. Now, I might not be blocking you. I certainly didn't cut you off, but someone looks at you and they yell a curse word or flip you off for no reason, and that's okay. But when I suggest being kind, smiling, being helpful, that seems to be not the norm. So, in your day, at work, at school, commuting, in the store, at the bank, tell someone if they did a good job. If you're at a restaurant, call the manager over. Like, we always are quick to get the manager when there's a complaint. How many times have you called the manager over to describe the great service that the person gave to you? There are so many ways that we can uplift people and encourage people and just say, hey, I see you. Know you're doing a great job. Just wanted to tell you that. And we should do that. Some people do this. Some people live their lives this way, but what we know from social media and what we see is that more often than not, being rude and mean is what people expect. When you see kids nowadays, they're not like we were, I think. And I feel like, us Gen Xers, we always laughed and joked and had a good time. Kids today deal with a lot of things that we didn't deal with. What is wrong with being nice or kind or encouraging? When I see things come across my social media feed that are celebrating kids, that are young people that are doing big things, businesses, writing books, achieving goals, winning competitions in sports, I try to really always comment on those type of posts and say, man, what a great job you're doing. Because why? We need to celebrate that. Why can't we celebrate achievement as much as we celebrate the foolishness? So another powerful way of really impacting people's lives is just by being kind. Here's another one. And I'm borrowing this from my best friend. So shout out best friend for this one. As telling your story. Sharing your story with people around you. We often have a perspective that people don't need to know all the gory details of my life and the mistakes I've made and the places I've fallen short and where I could have done better. But your story can be the roadmap for someone else moving forward. I remember as a young person listening to stories all the time. The older people in my family loved to tell stories about when they were growing up down south and sharing different things. And, we learned a lot through that method of storytelling. You may not think your story is important, but it matters. It absolutely matters. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Because why? You're sharing information with those around you to help them understand that, hey, there might be a better way to do this. Or, this is how I did it. This is how you can do it. Or, I had 3 businesses and they failed, but on the 4th time, I got it right because I did this, that, and the other. Telling your story about how you got from a really bad place to a decent place. Telling your story of after heartbreak several times, how you found the right one. Telling your story of coming through difficult financial times and being able to get financially stable. All those things matter. All those things All those things matter. And you should be telling your story, all of it, not just some of it, not just the good parts. Am I saying go out and tell everybody everything? No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying when you're talking to your nieces or your nephews or your godchildren or someone that you love and care about, and your story may help them, the details in your story may be enlightening for them, absolutely share it. Absolutely share it. Your story is a testimony of overcoming, of getting to better days, of finding a way through. And there's nothing wrong with sharing that. And that's very powerful. Storytelling is so powerful. If you ever go to any events where they're doing storytelling or, spoken word is also very powerful because words matter. And many people struggle through things for the lack of knowledge. We don't always share what we know. But I'm sure you can point to some times in your life where you shared something from your background with someone and they went, oh man, that's really helpful. Or I can see how this could help me move forward. So don't ever be afraid to share your story. It matters and it can be helpful. Another way that you can be powerful as one person is volunteering. Now, I kind of alluded to this with the school example in the beginning, but there are many other organizations that are always looking for volunteers. I remember at one time organizations that are doing the really heavy lift with kids like Big Brothers and Big Sisters in St. Louis. One time they had a astronomical wait list because they didn't have enough people participating. These are vulnerable kids that need someone in their life. And it's a commitment. Yes, it requires some energy. But if we don't step up to the plate and get into these spaces where there's a need, how do we expect anyone to change? Think about this. If a young person has had a really hard life and they've never really experienced anyone make it through, be successful, complete school, do well, if they never see that, how do we expect them to value that? Truly. There are so many organizations just around the St. Louis area that need volunteers, that need help. You have organizations that focus on everything literally from A to Z, financial literacy, mentoring. And if you can't volunteer, donate. Maybe you don't have money. Find out what these organizations need. A Red Circle is another great organization in St. Louis that's doing big things around food deserts and providing, fresh food for people in places where that's hard to get. There are many more organizations, too many to name. And I promise you, if you contact them and say, hey, I'm interested in coming around, getting to know you guys, and maybe giving a little bit of my time, I'm sure they'll welcome you with open arms. You might have to do some paperwork and background check depending on what type of organization it is. But volunteering is a great way to be an agent of change. It puts you in front of people, populations that can hear your story, that you can show kindness to. See how this is all working together? And all of a sudden, you go from a person that's talking about all the things that need to be done in our community to someone who's doing things in our community. Yeah, this is what we need to do. If we want things to change, if we really want things to be different, How does that happen if no one's willing to make a sacrifice? Nobody's willing to put out the time, effort, money, donations, or whatever. How do we get there? And I think this Juneteenth, this year, with so much facing many communities, not just African American communities, but many other communities, I think it's a relevant question of how can you be the change you want to see? What can you do? Where can you serve? How can you help? If you really, really want to see things change, you can't shy away from doing your part. We all have a part. We all have a part in contributing to life being good in our communities, in our cities, in our states. If we want things to be better, then we have to make the effort. And it's not about one person rising up and inspiring everyone. I would argue that it's a grassroots type of thing. It's one person at a time, in a family, in a community, in a school, that's constantly making a difference. The power of one. Just that phrase sounds so powerful to me, like the power of one. And when you really sit back and think about it, you are powerful. You are a change agent. You are able to be the change that you want to see. So what's my call to action for you today? My call to action is, let's stop complaining so much. We're right to call out what we see as problematic. We're right to identify what's problematic, but don't identify the problem without thinking about the solution. What can you do? Not what can they do. What can you do? What are you willing to do? Even if you're shy, even if you're withdrawn, even if you don't, you're not outgoing, or whatever the things are, there is a fit for you. And there's a place for you to be an agent of change. So my call to action for you is to find a place or a space where you can contribute, serve, donate, and do that for the rest of the year. 6 months. It's June. From June to December. Make a commitment. Make a commitment to be change somewhere. Even if it's in your own house, with your own family. You can do it. The power of one. Hey, thanks for coming by the Convos with Anita Santiago podcast. I love each and every one of my fans, supporters, and listeners. I appreciate you all. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for supporting. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and review the podcast on all the platforms. Go back and listen to some episodes if you missed some. Share when you can. And until we talk again, happy listening.